the first wife, so I'll go a little slowly while he's getting it organized. The first of Krishna's many queens was Rukmini. There's 3 chapters discussing the marriage of Krishna and Rukmini. That was a big disappointment for Rukmini's elder brother. Rukmini's elder brother was named Rukmi. And Rukmi went chasing after Krishna and Rukmini to get back at Krishna, but he was humiliated instead. Krishna was ready to kill him. Rukmini pleaded for her brother, although they had this very unique relationship. They had deep affection for one another, and yet Rukmi wanted her to marry someone there was no way she wanted to marry Shishupal. So Krishna married her instead. And when Krishna humiliated Rukmi, he took a vow. The humiliation was he cut off his mustache, cut off most of his hair, left patches here and there. He shamed him completely. He took a vow. He would do extreme austerities, take revenge on Krishna, and kill Krishna. And the Yadu dynasty members, as many as he could. That was his thing. He established a city, a capital, Shonitapura, and after some time, Krishna and Rukmini had a son. Rukmi had a daughter. Doesn't give the name of his queen. And the daughter developed an attraction to marry Pradyumna, Krishna's son. That was a big challenge for Rukmi, but out of his affection for his sister, many things happened, but they got married. And after some time, they lived together in Shanitapura, and Aniruddha was the son. Aniruddha was the son of Pradyumna and the daughter of Rukmi. Aniruddha was the son. And after some time, the daughter, Rochana, developed a desire to marry Aniruddha. And that was a big problem for Rukmi. But because of his affection for his sister, he didn't say no. And there was a big marriage. And then, so Aniruddha had already one wife, Rochana, the granddaughter of Rukmi. But as it so happens, much later, many chapters later, we hear about the second queen or wife of Aniruddha. And we covered that chapter yesterday. The second queen or second wife that he married was Usha. So the story of Usha and Aniruddha. Who was Usha? Usha was the daughter of Bana. Yeah. You know of Banasura. He's not a nice guy. But we heard about him yesterday. We're going to hear some more about him today. Bana was the son of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, as you know, is a descendant of Prahlad Maharaj. Bali Maharaj. was the son of Prahlad Maharaj, was a grandson of Just sit still. Banasura was the son of, he was the eldest of 100 sons of Bali. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He served Lord Shiva so devotedly, Lord Shiva gave him a benediction that he could have 1,000 arms, be very strong. But after some time, he was wanting in combat. He couldn't find a suitable combatant. So he humbly submitted to Lord Shiva. I tried going to the bottom of the universe where there's the 4 elephants holding up the universe, and I wanted to do battle with them, but they saw me coming and they ran, and I can't, smashing mountain peaks, and I can't find a suitable combatant. I think you're the only one. Lord Shiva had appreciation for his devotion. He also had a recognition of his pride. So he told him, the day will come when you will meet that opponent who will remove your pride. Lord Shiva decided it wasn't right. He could have, but it wouldn't be good to directly reprimand his own disciple, Bana, or Banasura. But Krishna could do that. And Krishna would do that. And Krishna did do that. So Bana was happy. I'm going to get a suitable combatant. Some time passed. And his daughter, Usha, started having a dream where, as you see in the dream, this beautiful, charming, attractive young man came to her in her dreams and then suddenly disappeared, and she called out loudly, "Where have you gone? Oh, my dear beloved." And she woke up all of her friends. What happened? What was all that about? So one of her friends was Chitra Lekha. Chitra Lekha is a very interesting person. She's kind of a mystic person. She was the daughter of one of Banasura's ministers, and she had a number of different arts. One of them, she could draw. Now, some of our young girls, they like to draw. You like to draw? Yeah. You're no match for Chitralekha. You could take lessons from Chitralekha. So she said, I'll make drawings of demigods and rishis and Gandharvas and apsaras and thises and that's and human beings and kings, and you tell me which one. So she made so many. Finally, she made a drawing of Pradyumna, and she said, that's close, because that's his father. Because Pradyumna looked so much like Krishna that when Pradyumna came back to Dwarka, they all thought Krishna had entered. And then when they realized, they felt embarrassed because their feelings of love toward Krishna were being directed towards this other person. And then it was revealed by Narada, that's Rukmini and Krishna's son, who looks just like him. And Aniruddha looks so much like Pradyumna, but it doesn't say what the distinguishing features are. She started making paintings of all these different personalities and showing them to Usha. And when she showed her the picture of Aniruddha. That's him. So it was in the evening hour. Chitralekha had another amazing power. She had mystic power. She could travel anywhere. She went in the dead of night to Dwarka. When she reached the outside of Dwarka, she wasn't able to enter. Narada told her, here's the secret of how you can enter some power. So she was able to enter. She went to where Aniruddha was asleep. While he was still asleep, she picked him up, transported him through the sky, and brought him directly into Usha's private chamber. Now, men aren't allowed in Vedic culture in the private chambers of ladies, what to speak of unmarried ladies. And there he was. Woo, woo, woo. They became very attracted to one another for a number of days. They were enjoying each other's company. She was offering nice gifts and doing nice things. They were enjoying each other's company like anything, as if they were married, but they weren't married. In Vedic culture, that's a no-no. And then Banasura received reports from some of his servants. This is going on right here in your royal palace. You better do something. So there you see, there's Banasura with his 1,000 arms, and look behind his back, there's this rope. It's a Naga Pashu. Because remember, he's a servant, a worshiper of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave him one of his weapons, Naga Pashu weapon. This verse is describing what Aniruddha looked like, very much like a description of Krishna. And he was sitting with his daughter, playing with her at dice. There hung between his arms a garland of spring jasmines that had been smeared with a kumkum powder from her breast when he embraced her. Banasura was astonished to see this. So what happened? He, Banasura, and his guards that were with him started to attack Aniruddha. Didn't go very well because Aniruddha was very, very powerful, and he was smashing them left and right, and they began running because their bodies were smashed by Aniruddha's powerful smashing weapons, his club. Banasura was very strong. He managed to capture Aniruddha. Now, this is by the arrangement of Krishna's internal potency, otherwise you can't capture Aniruddha. It's because if there's another Leela coming up. He was captured and put in jail. He was in jail for 4 months. And Usha came to know, of course, even as Aniruddha was striking down the army of Bana, that powerful son of Bali angrily caught him with the mystic Naga Pashu ropes. When Usha heard of Aniruddha's capture, she was overwhelmed with grief and depression. Her eyes filled with tears, and she wept. So after some time where we ended yesterday, this is just a review of yesterday, chapter 61. Narada Muni paid a visit to Dwarka and told them, guess what? You've been missing Aniruddha. I'll tell you what happened and where he is. Narada Muni does lots of things like this. He's a go-between to lubricate Krishna's pastimes and accelerate his pastimes. So now here's the beginning of chapter 62. O descendant of Bharata, the relatives of Aniruddha, not seeing him return, continued to lament as the 4 months, rainy months passed. That's Krishna in Dwarka. After hearing from Narada the news of Aniruddha's deeds and his capture, the Vrishnis, who worshipped Lord Krishna as their personal deity, went to Shanitapura. That's Banasura's capital. With Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the lead, the chiefs of the Satvaka clan, Pradumna, that's Aniruddha's father, right? Satyaki, Gada, Samba, Sarana, Nanda, Upananda, Bhadra, and others converged with an army of 12 divisions. 12 divisions, 12 Akshuhinis. It's a really big number. It's like millions. Millions. And laid siege to Banasura's capital, completely surrounding the city on all sides. So the painting is meant to illustrate the city in the middle, and there's armies all around, all sides. Banasura became filled with anger upon seeing them destroy his city's suburban gardens, ramparts, watchtowers, and gateways, and thus he went out to confront them with an army of equal size. Big battle. Look at that battle scene. Now, in the lower right, that shows a cannon. I don't think there were cannons at that time. That's a battle scene. And here's one that's more with swords and this and that. Now, who is Banasura the worshipper of? Who is Banasura the worshipper of? Yes, there he is. See? There, okay. Lord Rudra, accompanied by his son, Kartikeya, and the Pramatas. I had to look up what's the Pramatas. Came riding on Nandi, his bull carrier, to fight Balaram and Krishna on Bana's behalf. So here's what I was able to find out what the Pramatas are. They're powerful mystics who are in Lord Shiva's retinue and who assume many different forms. So they're warrior-like and mystical. And they're assistants of Lord Shiva. So he came out of the capital because, oh yeah, this is important. This is important from chapter 61. Are you ready? I'm just waiting for everyone to get their attention again. Lord Shiva likes to dance. Banasura had 1,000 arms. He likes to play percussion. So he played percussion while Lord Shiva was dancing and dancing and dancing and dancing, and he had so much happiness. He asked Bana for a benediction. What did Bana say? Please guard my city. So Lord Shiva was at his city of Shunitapura. So he came out of the city, riding on the back of Nandi with his many, many followers. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Rudra fought on behalf of Banasura, or Bana Arte, just to show Banasura his faults in making him experience suffering. Shiva is addressed as Bhagavan to indicate that by nature he is all-knowing and thus well aware of Krishna's greatness. Still, although Shiva knew Krishna would defeat him, he joined the battle against Krishna to demonstrate the glories of Krishna. This is the opinion of ancient authorities. A couple of comments. One comment is, we're trained in ISKCON that by Srila Prabhupada that the term Bhagavan is appropriate for Krishna only. And I don't know how many times you've heard it. I've heard it many, many times. Bhagavan means Krishna. Or avatars of Krishna. You know, expansions of direct Vishnu Tattva expansions of Krishna. That's what Bhagavan is meant to do, that one who possesses all opulences. However, it's also noted that sometimes, here's one case, directly in the Bhagavatam, where Lord Shiva is addressed as Bhagavan. there's places in the second canto where Brahma is addressed as Bhagavan. The commentary Prabhupada's purports explain that it's because of his intimate connection as an empowered avatar, a guna avatar of Krishna. Because of that intimate connection with Krishna, in this case, second canto, chapter 2, Srimad Bhagavatam, he's addressed as Bhagavan. That's the exception. But it's to indicate a close connection with Krishna, and thus addressed in that way. And another is something that is worth spending a little bit of time with, because I don't know if there's anybody in this room, but I've been in assemblies where persons grew up as worshippers of Lord Shiva. And when something like this comes up, it's like, what? It rubs people. It's like a stone in your shoe. Like the Bhagavatam's great, but you have that stone in the shoe, it irritates some people. So, a very nice explanation of understanding Krishna as the Supreme goes like this. This is Jiva Goswami in his Tattva Sandarbha. He explains in the Pramana Kanda section of Tattva Sandarbha. Pramana means evidence, or the means of knowing something. Pramana. You've heard that term before? Pramana. Now you're learning a new Sanskrit word. It means evidence. Like, let's just say, if you know some verses in Bhagavad Gita, I'm sure. So, if somebody asks you, how do you know that the way to know Krishna is by devotional service? You know, on the pramana of Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita. That's how you know, because there's a pramana that says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. You know the verse. Your mother is nodding yes, you know the verse. So, that's a pramana. One can know Krishna through devotional service. How do you know that? It's right in Bhagavad Gita. That's the pramana for that understanding. That's the meaning of pramana. It's evidence for knowing something. Just like pramana is used even in worldly things. For example, to get here, I came by American Airlines. And to leave here, I'm going to go by Southwest Airlines. So if I want to know if the flight's on time, I don't ask the gas station attendant. I call up and, or go online or whatever you do. You ask the American Airlines, because they're the authority whether the flight's on time or not. So if you want to know how to get to the house, you consult GPS. Depends. Anyway, there's authorities for knowing things, even in this world. And for transcendental things, you need transcendental pramana. And that's Shabda pramana. It's sound that comes from Narayana. So Jiva Goswami explains, Shabda pramana is the best evidence, especially for knowing things transcendental. And the Vedas are divided in different sections, Shruti and Smriti. And without a long explanation, because it can be a long explanation, the Smritis are even better for one major reason. The Sanskrit is easier for most people, and they're more preserved. Especially, then, he says, amongst the Smriti, there's other explanations. Amongst the Smriti, which is the best of the Smriti, or the Puranas? And then he explains, just as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there's modes of nature, And of the three modes of nature, which one is the best? Goodness, right? Goodness is the best. There's ignorance, above that is passion, and above that is goodness. Transcendental. So, just out of the three modes of nature, goodness is better than the other two. We say it's best. Then, listen carefully. This is why I'm going through this little explanation. Similarly, the Puranas, there's 18 principal Puranas. And if you divide 3, which is the three modes of nature, into 18, how many? 3 into 18 is? 6. Very good. So there's 6 Puranas that are composed for people in the lower Tamagun, 6 Puranas that are composed for people who are in Rajagun, and 6 Puranas that are composed for people that are in Sattvagun. So the Sattvagun Puranas are more authoritative than the other two, because the other two are to encourage people who are in these other modes and to get a glimpse of transcendence. So amongst those 6 in the mode of goodness, one of the 6 is best, because it's the spotless Purana or Amala Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam. Or put it in worldly terms, it's the Supreme Court. Lower courts make an appeal. So that would go to the Supreme Court, that's final. So Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. It's the final authority. So there are Puranas, and people that are worshippers of Lord Shiva really like those Puranas that glorify Lord Shiva. They glorify Lord Shiva in ways that make Lord Shiva appear to be equal to Krishna and sometimes even more. That's the lower court. And then there's the mode of goodness section of the Puranas. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam is here giving some indication, even directly, we'll hear directly by Lord Shiva's words. It's in other places in the Bhagavatam where Lord Shiva is directly glorifying Krishna. What's a really prominent example of Lord Shiva directly glorifying Krishna? I'll tell you. The Prachetas, you know who the Prachetas are? Yes? Who are they? They're the sons of King Prachinibari. The Prachetas, the sons of King Prachinibari, were asked by their father to help produce good offspring as a Prajapati. So they said, yes, whatever service you'd like from us. And to qualify themselves to produce good offspring, they were going to enter into the sea, the ocean, and meditate underwater for 10,000 years. That's a long time to meditate. Underwater, that means no breathing, because otherwise you're dead. So they knew how to do it. Different yuga, different capacity. As they were about to enter the sea, what happened? Lord Shiva came out of the sea, along with many followers, and said, you please me very much. I'm going to give you he didn't even ask them what they want. He said, I'm going to give you a wonderful benediction. I'm going to give you the same prayers that I meditate upon when I'm doing my meditation. So even he's doing meditation, he's meditating on prayers. He's not meditating on a candle or his breath or things that sometimes people that do meditation do. He meditates on the personality of Godhead. And very, very detailed, wonderful prayers prayers, the Song of Lord Shiva, it's called, the chapter in the Bhagavatam, where he, Lord Shiva, is in Srimad Bhagavatam describing how he worships Vishnu, or a particular feature and form of Vishnu. That's Srimad Bhagavatam. That's an example where we're going to hear in this chapter, as soon as I stop talking too much, we're going to hear Lord Shiva offering prayers to Krishna. Now, probably not, because there probably would somebody would have made some sound of some kind or another. There's not somebody here in the room that it rubs you the wrong way to hear Krishna is transcendentally the source of everything, including Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva worships him. Some people, it irritates them. So if you know somebody, when you're speaking about Krishna, and they sometimes they just like, they want to put Krishna and Shiva on an equal platform. They, let's be nice about it. And they're equal. I worship Krishna, that's fine. I worship Lord Shiva, that's fine. And they want to make them equal. Our teaching is it's not only it's a misunderstanding, it's an offense against the holy name. Vaishnava teaching says we respect Lord Shiva like anything, and at the same time we don't consider him equal to or independent of Krishna. He's a worshiper of Krishna. I'm spending time with this because you may run across it in the course of your interactions with people out there, and to help you, gently cover the territory, so persons aren't irritated. And I know a family, very nice family. They bought a set of Srimad Bhagavatams. And I was visiting their home for the installation of the set of Srimad Bhagavatams. And I started speaking, Vaishnavadam Yata Shambhu. And the husband got up and walked out. And he wanted to give his Bhagavatam set back. He didn't. But he was irritated. Now his wife is a Krishna Bhakta. So, they don't, he lets his wife, he doesn't interfere. She respects his devotion for Lord Shiva. But, it can be an irritation in different ways for different people. So we have to be careful. But the Bhagavatam is the Supreme Court. It's the Amala Pramana. And we know where the encouragement in other ways they're found. That one can make scriptural references, this, that, and the other thing from Skanda Purana or the other Puranas that have those kinds of teachings, and they're fully convinced that's fine for them. So all of that was just. Lord Shiva here, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur is saying, Lord Shiva is taking this position of being on the side of Banasura to show the supremacy of Krishna. Because he's a devotee, how can he get on the other side? Here's further commentary. Shiva entered the battle for two reasons. First, to increase Krishna's pleasure and enthusiasm. Second, to demonstrate that Krishna, although enacting human-like pastimes, is superior to other avatars, such as Lord Rama. This is Vishwanath's commentary. Krishna's internal potency, Yogamaya, bewildered Lord Shiva, just as she had bewildered Brahma. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Brahma Rudrani Mohanam. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to say a little philosophy. You ready for a little philosophy? Because this is mostly stories. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received Diksha in the line of Madhvacharya. In the line of Madhvacharya came Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're in the line of Madhavendra Puri, the line of Madhvacharya. Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. Gaudiya means Lord Chaitanya. Gaudiya Sampradaya. We're a branch of the tree Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya. It's called Shakha Bed. Shakha means branch. Beda means difference. It's a branch of the tree of that disciplic line. In Madhva's teachings, he has 9 essential teachings. I taught you one word, pramana. Pramana means evidence. And evidence of what? The word is prameya. That which is to be known from pramana is prameya, Sanskrit. So he has his teaching called Nava Prameyas, 9 essential teachings. 9 essential teachings. One of those 9 essential teachings is not the same as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, but we're in his line because it's a Shakhabed. His teaching says living entities are in gradations according to their fallibility. Jivas have gradations of ranking according to their fallibility. And Brahma and Shiva have some fallibility. That's what's on the screen here. They're not the same as Hari. There's some fallibility. And then down and down and down, lower gradations. He has a list of 30-something categories of living entities, ranked according to their tendency to become covered or to fall or become bewildered by Maya. Mohanam. Brahma Rudradi Mohanam. So this is Krishna bewildering Lord Shiva to do what he did. Krishna bewildering Lord Shiva to do what he did so that a Leela can be performed. So here we go, the Leela. A most astonishing and tumultuous, hair-raising battle then commenced, with Lord Krishna matched against Lord Shankara, and Pradyumna against Kartikeya. You ready for battle, Steen? That's what's coming up. So Krishna has this wonderful Panchajanya conch shell. Lord Balaram fought with Kumbhanda and Kupa Karna, Samba with Bana's son, and Satyaki with Bana. There's the battle scene on the right side. There's Balaram with his club and his plow going at it. Krishna's at the top of the painting. Brahma and the other ruling demigods, along with Siddhas, Charnas, and great sages, as well as Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yakshas, all came in their celestial airplanes to watch battle. So we're just hearing it, that they came to watch it. With sharp pointed arrows discharged from his bow Sharanga, Lord Krishna drove away the various followers of Lord Shiva, and this is a whole list of followers. Bhutas, Pramatas, we heard about Pramatas a moment ago. Guyakas, Dakinis, Yatu, Dhanas. I don't know who these people are, so don't ask me. Vetalas, Vinayakas, Pretas we know. Matas, Pishachas we know. Ghosts and witches. Kushmandas and Brahma Rakshasas. Ooh, doesn't have nice company. So there you see Krishna on his chariot firing arrows. Lord Shiva, wielder of the trident, shot various weapons at Lord Krishna, the wielder of Sharanga. We're going to see this painting one more time because it actually comes up later. But there's a Shiva Jwara, a fire weapon. Notice he has 3 heads and a number of legs, etc., etc. So what did Krishna do? He released his Vishnu Jwara. We'll hear some more. But Lord Krishna was not in the least perplexed. He neutralized all these weapons with appropriate counter weapons. So there's Krishna's main weapon, his Sudarshan, Lord Shiva's main weapon, his trident, having a battle. Lord Krishna counteracted a Brahmastra with another Brahmastra, a wind weapon with a mountain weapon, a fire weapon with a rain weapon, and Lord Shiva's personal Pashupat Ashtra weapon, with his own personal weapon, the Narayana Astra. That's what's in the picture. Narayana Astra is also described in other places. After bewildering Lord Shiva by making him yawn, see on the left side, Lord Shiva's yawning with a yawn weapon. That was so we wouldn't have to do battle with him, wouldn't have to finish him. Lord Krishna proceeded to strike down Banasura's army with his sword, club, and arrows. So down at the bottom, we see Ganesh fighting with one of Krishna's sons. There's Balaram with his club. There's Kartikeya riding his peacock. We'll see some more. Bana with his 1,000 arms. In the very center, there's Krishna with his Sharanga bow. Up above Krishna, there's Lord Brahma watching the fun. Here's a close-up of Kartikeya with his peacock carrier and Lord Shiva yawning. And on the right side, there's more of the battle scene. Lord Kartikeya was distressed by the flood of Pradyumna's arrows raining down from all sides, and thus he fled the battlefield on his peacock as blood poured from his limbs. That's something I found. 2 things. Boys really like battle scenes. You like battle scenes? Of course. I mean, there's probably some exceptions, but I haven't found any. Little boys like battle scenes. But another nice thing to remember when some people that don't like battle scenes is these persons are all being liberated. There's a verse in Canto 3, chapter 7, where it gives a list of the incarnations, just like Canto 1, chapter 3, list of incarnations. In Canto 3, chapter 7, a list of incarnations. And when it speaks of Krishna, there's a long list of the demons that were killed by Krishna, and the demons that were killed by Balaram, and Arjuna, and others who are Krishna's associates. They all achieve liberation. So it's kindness. It's like, sounds kind of heavy, but that's their benefit. They get liberation. Kumbhanda and Karna, tormented by Balaram's club, fell down dead. Means they were liberated. When the soldiers of these two demons saw that their leaders had been killed, they scattered in all directions. Banasura doesn't like this. He's a big hero. He's got all these arms. He wanted a big battle, right? That was the previous chapter. Banasura was furious to see his entire military force being torn apart. Leaving his fight with Satyaki, he charged across the battlefield on his chariot and attacked Lord Krishna. So this is half of the painting. There's arrows flying all over the place, but he's on his chariot trying to get to Krishna so he can do combat with Krishna directly. And that's what's shown in this painting also. The demigods up in the sky and all kinds of battle scenes. Excited to a frenzy by the fighting, Bana simultaneously pulled taut all the strings of his 500 bows, because he has 1,000 arms, and fixed 2 arrows on each string. No problem. Lord Sri Hari split every one of Banasura's bows simultaneously. There's Krishna riding on the back of... Who was he riding on the back of? Garuda. And struck down his chariot driver, chariot and horses. The Lord then sounded his conch shell. Just then, Banasura's mother, Kotara, desiring to save her son's life, appeared before Lord Krishna naked, with her hair undone. That's what she's in the middle of that painting, dressed in black, or undressed in black, I guess. And there's Krishna who's turning away. He doesn't want to see her naked. And on the left, that's Banasura with his many arms. He's taking the opportunity to escape. Lord Gadagraja turned his face away to avoid seeing the naked woman, and Banasura, deprived of his chariot, his bow shattered, took the opportunity to flee into his cities. He went back into the city. Now, Kshatriyas don't do that, but he did. Shiva's fight with Krishna and Banasura runs away. That's what's in this painting. There's many different things going on in this painting. Okay. After Lord Shiva's followers had been driven away, the Shiva Jwara, who had 3 heads, remember we saw him, and 3 feet, pressed forward to attack Lord Krishna. As the Shiva Jwara approached, he seemed to burn everything in 10 directions. It's a fire weapon. So there's the fire weapon again. Seeing this personified weapon approach, Lord Narayana then released his own personified fever weapon, Vishnu Jwara. The Shiva Jwara and Vishnu Jwara thus battled each other. So we see in the painting, Shiva's on one side of the painting, Krishna's on the other side of the painting, and their 2 Jwaras are going at it. Guess who wins? Vishwanath writes, the terrible Shiva Jwara had 3 legs, 3 heads, 6 arms, and 9 eyes. Showering ashes, he resembled Yamaraj at the time of the universal annihilation. The Shiva Jwara, overwhelmed by the strength of the Vishnu Jwara, cried in pain. But finding no refuge, the frightened Shiva Jwara approached Lord Krishna, the master of the senses, hoping to attain his shelter. Thus, with joined palms, he began to praise the Lord. So these are prayers to Krishna from Lord Shiva's Jvara. I bow down to you of unlimited potencies, the Supreme Lord, the super soul of all beings. You possess pure and complete consciousness and are the cause of cosmic creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Perfectly peaceful, you are the absolute truth to whom the Vedas indirectly refer. Indirectly. So the Vedas, what's the purpose of the Vedas? You know the verse from Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of the Vedas. Vedaishcha Sayurvayar. Very good. You know the meaning? The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. Vedaishcha Sayurvayar aham, because Krishna speaking. Eva, it means certainly. Vedyo, the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. So, if the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna, then why are the Vedas referring to him indirectly? Well, there's some people that don't want directly. Yeah. Yeah. So that's indirect. Very good. Worship of the demigods and worship of the impersonal, they're indirect. And the indirect, if done properly, under proper guidance, it can bring one to the direct. It's gesturing in the direction of without saying his name. Because that's directly. Yes, that's indirect. It's very good. Very good. So the Vedas refer to Krishna indirectly. And now here, Shiva Jwara is saying, they're referring to you indirectly, but it's about you. Because you're revealed in the Vedas. Then he lists why he wants to take shelter of Krishna. All these things are from Krishna. Time, fate, karma, the jiva and his propensities, the subtle material elements, the material body, life air, false ego, the various senses, and the totality of these, as reflected in a living being's subtle body. All these constitute your material illusory energy, Maya, an endless cycle like that of seed and plant. I take shelter of you, the negation of this Maya. He's smart. He knows the Vedas. With various intentions, you perform pastimes to maintain the demigods, the saintly persons, and the codes of religion for this world. By these pastimes, you also kill those who stray from the right path and live by violence. Indeed, your present incarnation is meant to relieve the earth's burden. Well, he really got it right. Now, there's a painting where Krishna is in a chariot drawn by 4 white horses. That's in the center, kind of a little bit to the left. And there's other heroes on the battlefield. Looks like Balaram's on the battlefield too, on the lower right. I am tortured by the fierce power of your terrible fever weapon, which is cold yet burning. All embodied souls must suffer as long as they remain bound to material ambitions and thus averse to serving your feet. He wants shelter. The Supreme Lord said, "O three-headed one, I am pleased with you. May your fear of my fever weapon be dispelled, and may whoever remembers our conversation here to have no reason to fear you." thus addressed, the Maheshwara Jivara bowed down to the infallible Lord and went away. But Banasura then appeared, riding forth on his chariot to fight Lord Krishna. There you see on the right side, there's many arms and many horses. He's come charging at Krishna. Here he is again, carrying numerous weapons in his 1,000 hands, O king. The terribly infuriated demon shot many arrows at Lord Krishna, the carrier of the disc weapon. That's a hint. The disc weapon is going to start doing its thing. As Banasura continued hurling weapons at him, the Supreme Lord began using his razor-sharp chakra to cut off Banasura's arms as if they were tree branches. So there in the painting, on the left, you see Krishna with his arm raised, and the lower right, you see Banasura with his many, many arms, and his arms are being severed as we speak. Lord Shiva felt compassion for his devotee Banasura, whose arms were being cut off, and thus he approached Chakra Yuddha. Yuddha means fighting, right? Yuddha. And Chakra Yuddha, he fought with his chakra and spoke as follows. So here's Shiva's prayers. Here's a scene. Now notice in the bottom, kind of right, that's where his mother, standing naked, is before Krishna. Krishna is looking the other way. There's Lord Shiva on the upper right side, riding on Nandi. And there's a whole bunch of things happening in this painting. It's like lots of things in one painting. Demigods up in the sky watching the fun. Okay. Here's another detail. There's Lord Shiva, and there's Krishna on the far left. When Shiva is first entering the battle. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, it may be questioned, should not Shiva be ashamed to come forward and praise that person with whom he had just fought? No, because Shiva is Bhagavan, or omniscient. He knew that it was not at all astonishing to be bewildered by the Maya of Krishna, who was superior to himself, as well as Brahma and all others. Therefore, why should he be embarrassed in front of his Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself? Here's a very beautiful painting. Lord Shiva is offering his prayers. You alone are the absolute truth, the supreme light, the mystery hidden within the verbal manifestation of the Absolute. That's the Vedas, by the way. Those whose hearts are spotless can see you, and for you are the uncontaminated. You are uncontaminated like the sky. The sky is your navel, fire your face, water your semen, and heaven your head. The cardinal directions are your sense of hearing, herbal plants, the hairs on your body, the water-bearing clouds, the hair on your head, the earth is your foot, the moon is your mind, and the sun your vision, while I am your ego. That's what Lord Shiva's in charge of. Not Krishna's ego, but false ego. The ocean is your abdomen, Indra your arm, Lord Brahma your intelligence, the progenitor of mankind your genitals, and religion your heart. You're indeed the original Purusha, creator of the worlds. Your current descent into the material realm, O Lord of unrestricted power, is meant for upholding the principles of justice and befitting the entire universe. We demigods, each depending on your grace and authority, develop the 7 planetary systems. You are the original person, one without a second, transcendental and self-manifesting, uncaused. You are the cause of all causes, and you are the ultimate controller. You are, nonetheless, perceived in terms of the transformations of matter effected by your illusory energy, transformations you sanction so that the various material qualities can become fully manifest. He's almost finished with his prayers. The punchline he's going to say, please save Bana. Don't kill him. Oh, Almighty One, just as the sun, though hidden by a cloud, illuminates the cloud and all other visible forms as well, so you, although hidden by the material qualities, remain self-luminous and thus reveal all those qualities along with the living entities who possess them. Their intelligence, bewildered by your Maya, there she is, riding on her lion carrier, Durga, fully attached to children, wife, home, and so on, persons immersed in the ocean of material misery sometimes rise to the surface and sometimes sink down. It's almost like this painting is meant to illustrate these words of Lord Shiva. One who has attained this human form of life as a gift from God, yet who fails to control his senses and honor your feet, is surely to be pitied, for he is only cheating himself. That's the ocean of material existence where living entities are being tossed around by the waves. And there's the Hare Krishna boat. That mortal who rejects you, check the painting out, this fellow right in the middle, the bottom center, he is saying no to Krishna and entering into the cloud of the material energy. That mortal who rejects you, his true self, dearmost friend and Lord, for the sake of sense objects, whose nature is just the opposite, refuses nectar and instead consumes poison, I, Lord Brahma, and the other demigods, and the pure-minded sages, have all surrendered wholeheartedly unto you, our dearmost self and Lord. Nice painting. Let us worship you, the Supreme Lord, to be freed from material life. You are the maintainer of the universe and the cause of its creation and demise. Equipoised and perfectly at peace, you are the true friend, self, and worshipable Lord. You are one without a second, the shelter of all the worlds and all souls. Now comes the punchline. This Banasura is my dear and faithful follower, and I have awarded him freedom from fear. Therefore, my Lord, please grant him your mercy, just as you showed mercy to Prahlad, the Lord of the demons. Krishna agrees. My dear Lord, that's how he's addressing Lord Shiva. For your pleasure, we must certainly do what you have requested of us. I fully agree with your conclusion. I will not kill this demoniac son of Vairochani. Vairochani is the name of the son of Virochana, not with a long I, but Vairochani. That's the son. If it was a female, it was Vairochani. So, but Vairochana's son, Bana. son of this demoniac son of Vairochani, for I gave Prahlad Maharaj the benediction that I would not kill any of his descendants. It was to subdue Banasura's false pride that I severed his arms, and I slew his mighty army because it had become a burden upon the earth. This demon, who still has 4 arms, will be immune to old age and death, and he will serve as one of your principal attendants. Thus we have nothing, he will have nothing to fear, because Shiva gave him the benediction, fearlessness. I'll support it. But now his pride has been cut. His 1,000 minus 4 arms have been cut. Thus attaining freedom from fear, Banasura offered his obeisances. It's there in the painting. He's offering obeisances to Krishna by touching his head to the ground. Bana then seated Aniruddha and his bride. Who is his bride? Usha. Bana's daughter. On their chariot and brought them before the Lord. There's Banasura offering his obeisances before Krishna. It only shows 2 arms, but he had 4. The Lord then entered his own capital, the city, that's Dwarka, was lavishly decorated with flags and victory arches because everyone heard. Aniruddha's been gone for 4 months. Krishna and Balaram went with a huge army. Here they come back with Aniruddha and wife number 2. And its avenues and crossways were all sprinkled with water. Conch shells, anakas, and dundubi drums resounded. The Lord's relatives, the brahmanas, and the general populace all came forward to greet him respectfully. The end of the chapter. Benediction. Whoever rises early in the morning and remembers Lord Krishna's victory in his battle with Lord Shiva will never experience defeat. Just 2 things. Rise early. Yeah. Specifically, Krishna's battle with Lord Shiva. Never experience defeat. So that's chapter 63. Krishna's fight with Banasura and part 2 of this nice love story. You want to discuss something? Do we have a microphone? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I can hear you.
My question is, like, when this pastime is happening, is Banasura was still in the lower planetary systems? Because Bali Maharaj was at the...
Bali Maharaj was there, but Bana wasn't there. Bali was given that kingdom, but it doesn't mean that that's where Bana was. Bana was in Shonitapura. It's some other place. I don't know where. Not where where Bali was.
Another question, and maybe not question. So when he prayed to Lord Shiva, so instead of asking like some other higher knowledge or like liberation, like he asked to protect his property. So
Yeah.
I feel like can relate to that because sometimes I buy something or some, so like when it's in danger, so I go on pray. I was thinking that what makes us when with the Lord we can pray like the extraordinary things, but here I go and pray for protect my property, things like that. Is it like conditioning or what?
Oh, yeah. Protection, one of the 4 animal propensities. It's all tangled up. Why don't you turn the thing off and disconnect it? Let him do it. You just pay attention. You ask the question. You got to pay attention. What are the 4 animal propensities? Eating, sleeping, mating, and protecting property, right? Do you want to know, is that due to conditioning? You bet. It's due to conditioning. We have material bodies, and we want to protect material bodies and things that are connected to our material body. Mind, that thing. We want to protect. It's natural. Just get a material body and it's completely natural. Just like sleeping or eating or protecting property. It's completely natural. Now, is that the best thing to ask Krishna for? So why do you do it if you know it's not? Because it's natural to do it. So what to do when you have that tendency to do that which is natural, but it's not the best thing? You do what you're doing right now. You're recognizing it's not the best thing. Let me hit the reset button and look at my relationship with Krishna. And what is that, the nature of that relationship? What is it meant for? What's the purpose of it? And then keep going with that. It's similar to the question that Sanatana Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kayami, you know that one? What am I? Not even who am I, but what am I? And why do I suffer? Tapatraya. Why do I suffer the threefold miseries? The suffering of the threefold miseries is due to ignoring Krishna. And so you can turn to Krishna and still be trapped by Maya. That is, what's temporary is important. And life becomes adjusting the temporary, so you find happiness in adjusting the temporary this way instead of that way. But that's not where happiness is. So the inquisitive spirit, what's behind the question, is an inquisitive spirit. Then you direct that inquisitive spirit following the path of our previous acharyas, like Sanatana Goswami, and go that path. Yes. Hare Krishna. I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Why did Shiva use the fire weapon?
Why did Shiva use a fire weapon? For what reason? He's a fighter. He wants to fight. And one way to fight is fight with fire. That's why it was a powerful weapon. Fire is a powerful weapon. Don't play with fire because it's very powerful. You can not only burn yourself, you can be finished. So he had the fire weapon that was really intense to finish his opponent. Okay.
Thank you so much for such an active class.
Is the button on? The power on? There's a power switch. Okay, go ahead. You're on.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have a question. Like you mentioned, you explained Maharaj, but like Shiva here is mentioned Bhagwan. And when we say Bhagwan has 6 opulences, right? So sometimes question can our mind that even though we are not considering that Shiva is equal to Krishna, like the offense to the holy name. But then what is the purpose in Bhagavatam why Shiva is mentioned Bhagwan?
It's answered. I'll repeat
Yeah.
what the answer is. Because he has so much knowledge, the word is he is omniscient. Now, who is omniscient? It's Bhagavan. If Bhagavan gives some power to another, then they're empowered. He's empowered by Bhagavan, and thus, in one sense, can be called Bhagavan because he's empowered by Bhagavan. More precisely, he's not the independent, all-knowing person, but he's an empowered person. In that sense. So clarification is required. You're asking it for clarification, but the commentary makes it clear. Because of being intimately connected with Bhagavan. Just like Krishna is addressing Lord Shiva as my dear Lord. Now he's the master, Krishna is the master, not Shiva is the master. But he's honoring him. I like that.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure. It
It's
looks
a
like
little
your
bit
daughter has something
unrelated.
too.
I like in Nursing Dev pastime or even today's pastime, all the souls present there, they personally saw Krishna.
Yes, they did.
So did they all purified and went back to spiritual world?
Not necessarily. They became purified, that's for sure. But not everyone that saw him went back to Godhead. Just like, many people see deities. Do they all go back to Godhead? They may be on their way by the purification that comes from seeing, but there's probably a number of steps before they get there. Is that it? Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So Maharaj, in some places in Bhagavatam, even Narada Muni is referred to as Bhagavan.
Yes,
Is
Narada
that
also.
because he is also omniscient?
No. But he knows things that nobody knows. There's a nice description when Shukadeva Goswami is asking, Maharaj Parikshit is asking Shukadeva Goswami about how it was that Rukmi, although he had such intense animosity towards Krishna, that he allowed his daughter to marry Krishna's son, and then his granddaughter to marry Krishna's grandson. Then he says, you must know these things because you have intimate connection with Krishna, and therefore you know things, you and other sages know things that the rest of us cannot know. So Narada's like that. He knows what Krishna discloses to him. He's not omniscient. Prabhupada was asked this question once. Swamiji, I was told that one who becomes a knower of Krishna becomes the knower of all things. Is this true? Prabhupada, yes. Swamiji, can you tell me how many windows there are in the Empire State Building? Prabhupada's answer. Can you tell me how many drops of water there are in a mirage? And then he explained that the spiritual master knows everything means whatever it is that he needs to know in order to serve Krishna, Krishna reveals. Whatever he needs to know in order to serve Krishna, Krishna reveals. And that way he becomes the knower of all things. Not trivia and minutia and how many grains of sand are there in the Sahara Desert or something like that. Okay.
And this battle between Shiva and Krishna, where does it rank in comparison to the Kurukshetra war?
How does it compare to?
Yeah.
The numbers of persons killed?
I mean, yeah, because they also had huge armies. So isn't it?
Well,
big-
not only
bigger
that, all the armies that Jarasandha brought. It started with 8 and it went up to 18. Krishna came with 12. All those that were killed were liberated.
But this was the battle between the Lord himself and his incarnation, Shiva.
But the persons killed, Shiva wasn't killed, and Bana wasn't killed, but many persons were killed. So those persons were liberated. You have something? Yeah.
So, so Banasura's father Bali Maharaj and then his grandfather
Virochana. His grandfather was Virochana, and his great-grandfather was Prahlad.
So my doubt is, Maharaj, like growing up, you would have heard the glories of Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj. How great devotees are there of
Yeah, they
Lord
are.
Hari.
They are definitely.
So how can he become a worshipper of Lord Shiva?
Well, how does somebody slip on a banana peel? He had an inclination. That's how. Anything in the back? Our hostess, anything? No? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. You're the